Hello, and welcome to prayer time this evening. Hope everybody is enjoying this beautiful Sunday evening. Lots of interesting things going on. We had a lot of interesting weather this weekend here in Colorado. We had some sleet and snow, and then it went into beautiful, like mid 40s, 50s weather where everything melted. It was kind of typical Colorado. Whenever it snows, there's always something that happens right after. Well, I want to welcome you to prayer time. If you have never been here before, this is something that we do every every 8:15 in the morning, 8:15 in the evening, and that's Mountain Standard Time. We do hold prayer, and we're a group of both practitioners and ministers alike. My name is Joe Witherow. I am a practitioner at the Colorado Springs CSL Church, and I'm formerly from Mile High Church in Lakewood, Colorado. Um, but I've been a practitioner. Oh, we're coming up to almost 8 months at this point. But I've been a energy worker, light worker, holder of prayer for many, many years, teaching people how to find their spiritual gifts. That's something that I just pride myself on. Is I think I've been a spiritual warrior longer than I have not been a spiritual warrior. Uh, so this is just a different step in the journey, and being able to hold prayer is one of those things that it's it's what makes a practitioner. Being able to know that inner truth, being able to know what the reality is, even when the situation appears not to be. Um, Yesterday, or I said the other day when I did prayer time, I was talking a lot about divine health and all the things that have been happening recently with the higher Omicron notice, and I really talked specifically about how, as ministers and practitioners, we've been called to hold prayer in different ways and to hold divine healing and energy. And one of the things that Ernest Holmes talks about a bunch is the idea of being a willing participant, meaning the person that we pray for has to want that prayer. They have to be ready and able to receive. They have to have that consciousness and awareness to feel the prayer and to connect with that consciousness that they have. Uh, it's really, really interesting, when we look at, there's a lot that people learn from Jesus Christ's teaching, and it goes way beyond the metaphysical aspect. And there's a lot of timing in there for us to realize really what Jesus is saying in a different manner. We can talk about the Jesus walking on water, or we can talk about how he spoke to others and how he knew that truth. But really, the hidden joy in what he did was he lifted the consciousness of those around him. He spoke of a greener pasture, so to speak. And even when things were at their bleakest moment, he was able to see that big picture. He was able to connect and know that this earthly plane that we're on is just a step in the journey. There's much more beyond this, uh, which is kind of interesting. And I will tell you all that I grew up as a Unitarian Universalist. Um, so if you don't know what that means, that basically means my whole journey in my teens into my 20s was on finding out what resonated with me. What is it that I connected to spiritually? What motivates me? What resonates with me? What makes me just feel connected? And really kind of, when I started reading these deep teachings and biblical stuff, I was seeing much past the meaning and looking into the metaphysics and looking into the consciousness. And that's really where the spiritual journey is it's seeing a consciousness and expanding our consciousness and growing. It's taking what makes us uncomfortable and finding a way to pray on it. It's finding a way to hold that light when somebody necessarily says a room is dark. that's really what this experience on this thing called life is. That's really what spiritual practice is. It's going within to slow down and to connect closer to God. And however we do it, it doesn't matter whether it's meditation, prayer, deep breathing exercises, yoga. There's so many different ways. But I wanted to really kind of talk about the idea of divine intelligence today. So, one of my, I'd say, underutilized books out of my library is Can We Talk to God by Ernest Holmes. And, I really like in this book because Ernest Holmes really kind of breaks things down almost in a flowchart way, where he's going to talk about things that he believes. And he says, this is why I believe in it, X, Y, and Z. And I just love the flow of it. It's probably his easiest book to read, in my opinion. But anyway, this is from the chapter called What I Believe, and this is the reading for today. We are living in a mechanical universe that's governed by laws which have no conscious intelligence or personal volition. But the very fact that we can make declaration proves that we are not governed by mechanical law alone. For mechanical law, by reason of itself or its very nature, recognizes itself. When we come to self-recognition, we've already realized and arrived at spontaneous life and self-knowingness. We are subject to the law of our being, but this law is not one of bondage, but one of liberty under law. I can conceive of a spontaneous spirit and a retroactive law, and this position has been accepted by deep thinkers of every age. It is self-evident. Since spirit can never contradict itself, being pure intelligence, the life of the spirit remains harmonious and calm, complete and perfect. Spirit realizes its nature by personifying itself and arrives at self-recognition through what it knows and does. So, what is this reading, really kind of speaking about? Well, it's really talking about the realization of what we see opposed to what we know and to what we believe. So they're three very different things. We can see things in front of us, but there may not be the apparent truth to us. It may be in our brain, but not in our thoughts or in our hearts. That's the bigger point of what he's trying to get to. For when we know something to be a truth, when we're able to rest and pray on it, nothing else really matters at that point. We're taking away all this mechanical law that governs others, and we are becoming one with divine flow. So that's kind of really what I wanted to read on today. But, I really love the sentence in here, but this law is not one of bondage, but of liberty. When we connect, we are tapping into that freedom. We're not walking away from it. By praying and knowing, we are getting to a point where we are free. Our souls are not in this mode where we are dependent on others, where our things are just generated. Our day is manifested and is dictated by things way outside our control. So, I really just kind of love that reading for that reason. But we're going to go ahead and get into our prayer time. So I just invite, wherever you're at, just to kind of take a stretch and just allow this to be. For what I do know in this beautiful evening is that there's so many different manifestations of spirit that are right here in this very moment. And I look out and I see the beautiful moon outside. Feel the beautiful wind in the air as I open my patio door. See all the beautiful lights. Feel the air and just see the beauty that exists within nature. And I just see so much of this in the mountains and the deep fields that are ahead, and so many aspects of nature that just remind me of this bigger, greater picture of this thing called God. It exists in fields and deserts and seas and rivers. It exists no matter whether I'm in Colorado or my beautiful former home state of Iowa, or whether I'm in Australia or New Zealand, or I could be in Central Africa. And yet still this presence of God is there. There's no place where I truly am not one with this divine connection. And I know this truth for myself, and I know this truth for every man, woman, and child that not only listens to this prayer, but is a part of this thing called life. For my mind is part of this divine creative medium. My thoughts, my connections, my love, my desires, my hopes, my fears are all part of things that have already been thought of and manifested before. Part of this creative medium, my mind is one with this mind of God. And just knowing this beauty of this Sunday evening, I just see right now just this aspect of divine intelligence that flows through all right now. This week has shown this amount of uncertainty, of fear, of anger that has been manifested. And yet the reality is that there's a much greater calling for this week. There's a rush to consciousness, to uplifting, to awareness of spirit. There's a rush for this love and light that exists in the world. So many beautiful deeds to come out and to demonstrate. There is a need for all of us that do have in this time to give and to share and to be open to that experience of giving. And there's also this greater call to be open to receive. For the real gift in giving is not in the gift itself. It is not in ever receiving a gift. It's in the gratitude in the heart space, the Christ consciousness that is invoked upon putting others ahead of ourselves, feeding others with the fish and the wine of our energy, being this light and being the change that we want to see in this world. And just speak my word this evening, just knowing just this beautiful worldwide community that moves forward today amidst these challenges. There's a greater calling for peace. There's a greater calling for this love that exists within my heart, and I know it exists within all, to come out and say that I am here and I'm connected with this divine spirit. I am one with this love. I am one with this light. I am this spiritual being in this spiritual time. I tap into this divine intelligence, for I know that when I do my spiritual practices, when I slow down, when I pray, when I meditate, when I do yoga, when I do exercise, I know I'm able to connect and slow down my mind and connect with God. For just knowing these truths, I am just so grateful for being able to hold prayer this evening. I'm so grateful for this spiritual journey, being a practitioner at this time. And I'm so grateful for being able to hold this light this evening. And just knowing that this gratitude is here, that this prayer has been, the seeds have been planted, the harvest is there. I know nothing else needs to be done. I just simply step back, let it be. Take a deep breath. And just allow myself just to feel the energy of spirit as I release this prayer into this law of love and light, of divine intelligence, knowing all that has been said has needed been said. Nothing else needs to be done. Just simply release, let it be. And I conclude this prayer by simply saying, and so it is. All right. Well, I wanted to thank you guys this evening for holding prayer, and I hope this really made this evening, and you were able to connect. And just a reminder, we do this every day at 8:15 in the morning, 8:15 in the evening. It has been an honor, and I can't wait to be able to pray with you again. If you have any prayer requests, just a reminder, you can also send them to prayer@ntmedia.org. We'd be happy to hold that consciousness for you. Much love and light, my friends. Peace and blessings. And so it is.